Welcome everyone to the Things Around 8. Today we will talk about the statements that Vladimir Putin made during the celebration of Victory Day, which is celebrated on May 9th in Moscow. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, I invite you to subscribe. Vladimir Putin, today he warned of a global conflict. He said he will not allow anyone to threaten Russia. This statement was made in a speech on Red Square, in Moscow, during the anniversary celebrations of Victory Day, which marks the surrender of Nazi Germany in World War II. Putin then said that Western powers are responsible for fueling conflicts today and also said that Western powers are arrogant, and that they forget the decisive role of the Soviet Union in defeating Nazi Germany in World War II. Worldwide, he said, we know where this arrogance leads. Russia will do everything to avoid a global conflict, but at the same time, we will not allow anyone to threaten us, and said that Russian strategic forces are ready. Remembering that, when he refers to Russian strategic forces, he is talking about the Russian nuclear arsenal, which is today the largest in the world. Russia inherited nuclear weapons from the Soviet Union and has the world's largest stockpile of nuclear warheads. Putin also sees the war in Ukraine as a war against the West as well, after Western powers allied with Ukraine to support Ukraine, and he says that Western powers humiliated Russia after the fall of the Berlin Wall in '89 and by also invading Ukraine. Influence over Moscow. There is one thing that is important to understand why Putin thinks this way, which is the fact that in 2004, just 15 years after the Warsaw Pact was dissolved, in 1989 each of the former members of the Soviet Union are now part, or NATO, or members of the European Union. So, these former allies of Russia, former members of the Soviet Union, began to enter into military alliances, such as NATO, or into blocs, such as the European Union, and for Putin this is an affront. Moscow's power of influence. In other words, it's as if you were at one point you had many friends and then all of your friends are now preferring to be friends with your main enemy, and this began to release the feeling of isolation for Russians. Remembering that, at this moment, Russia already controls 18% of Ukraine, including Crimea, which was annexed in 2014, and also parts of 4 regions in eastern Ukraine. Putin also said in this Victory Day speech that the West would like to forget the lessons of the Second World War, but we remember that the fate of humanity was decided in the great battles that took place near Moscow. Just to finish, this parade that marks the Day of Victory, which for the Russians took place in the time zone of the 9th of May and for the rest of Europe, for France, for example, it took place on the 8th. This parade, which takes place this Thursday in Russia, was reduced because of the military capabilities being used in the war in Ukraine, but ballistic missiles were also used to show Russia's military power, and also an announcer during the speech said Russia has a guaranteed ability to strike a target anywhere on the globe. This speech comes amid heightened tensions and an increase in the Russian offensive in Ukraine after the approval of that billion-dollar package worth $61 billion from the United States, with the aim of increasing the ability of Ukrainians to defend themselves. Thank you very much for watching the video, and now I invite you to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so we'll see you more often, and so you'll be up to date with everything that's happening.